Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's On at Disney Plus, well, weekly live Q&A. So we are live across the interwebs. So big hello to everyone that's in the live chat. So you can see quite a few people in here. We've got Ryan, Muppet Don, we've got Matt, Tim, Baba Trolling, Dana, Khalid, and yeah, I think that's everyone. So big hello to all of you. So each week we do a live Q&A, and these questions have been submitted in advance by our Patreon and our YouTube channel members, which help support the channel, which let us be able to make all the videos and help support the podcast and the website and everything. You know, your help really does make a huge difference. So we're less reliant on advertising. So big thank you to everyone. You can become a member from as little as $2 a month. You get to take part in these weekly Q&As. You also get your name at the end of videos if you're in the $5 tier and above. But again, big thank you to all of you guys. And just to see a few people in there so Tim can hear me. That's great. So we've got lots of questions today. Again, lots in the live chat as well. So as per usual, what I'll be doing is I'll be jumping in and out of the live questions and also with the pre-done questions, looking to go about an hour or so. So busy. It's kind of like one of those weird things of like, it was a bank holiday weekend for the US, and Disney dropped a couple of bomb shows on Friday before everyone went away for the weekend. So there was quite a bit of news on Friday. But yeah, let's jump into the top question. So I'd like to start off with the one that's the title of the show. We have got a poll I've just put up. What do you think of Disney Plus needs to get more new subscribers? So we got more originals, more classic content, merge it with Hulu or live TV. I did give a few other ones. Right. Okay. So Mamad says, with all the price increases and a reduction of content, what do you think Disney will have to do to gain new subscribers in North America and Europe after everything that they have done this year? So let's be honest. This year has not been good to Disney. They are really kind of, if I could use a GIF for it, it's Sideshow Bob stepping onto every rake that he possibly can. They just keep bumbling into these PR nightmares, one after another after another. They don't seem to be able to kind of get moving forward. And Disney Plus has taken a hit. Now, there's a couple of ways we can look at this. First off, let's take away the loss of subscribers. Majority of them are due to the situation in India. So that's obviously losing the Cricket Act, the rights to the crickets. That has lost them probably, I think it's something like 20 million subscribers. A lot, but they are generally considered to be worth much less than a US subscriber. So 20 million Indian subscribers are probably on par, maybe with like 4 or 5 million from core Disney Plus. So just put that in money terms. Disney Plus has continued to go up in terms of usership here in Europe. It actually hasn't gone down. In the US, it has dropped back a little bit. So I'm going to kind of look at this in a couple of different ways. I feel like I'm going to set this straight off first off with like the US and with internationally. So internationally, things are a little bit different here internationally. We have got access to the Star brand. We've got lots of great content on here. We're getting things that, you know, we get new seasons, new shows, all the kinds of stuff. Then this is why I'm probably more positive about Disney Plus, is the fact that I feel as a UK subscriber that I get plenty of stuff on Disney Plus every week that I think keeps me happy. Lots of stuff to watch, lots of different shows. I mean, usually going into this time of the year, just start having some more stuff dropping that we'll be watching, but the strikes are kind of messing with all that. But as a international subscriber, I'm happy with the content that's dropping. We got some great new shows coming up. The Star Hub for me is the core thing that keeps. I mean, I would be subscribed to it because of this, but as like my wife has said, if it wasn't for Star, she wouldn't keep Disney Plus. That's the only thing. That's definitely one thing I would look at. But yeah, so I think internationally, I think there's some things they need to do. I think they need to sort out global releases to be a little bit more, just get them out on the same time, same day, same time, same place. And so therefore the marketing efforts can be a little bit more unified. And I'm hoping once the US kicks in, that's going to happen. I do think Disney are going to have to look at their subtitles and the dub system that they're using here in Europe right now. Keep getting reports of people, just there's less and less dubbing going on and less subtitles. That is not going to be good for European users. I'll be honest, doesn't impact me so much in terms of English shows, American shows. But there's been some, like, if there's a French show or a Korean show and it's not dubbed, I ain't going to check it out. So I think that's definitely an issue with that one there. So that's why I think in Europe they need to make sure that they're doing more with the dubbing and the subtitles. I think that's definitely something they need to do. In the US, the big problem to me is the big green monster Hulu has just been this massive, great big block. It has just stopped Disney Plus being able to use anything of any use. Everything is locked. Everything that goes from one of their mature sides or from the general entertainment slides to Hulu, and they have just locked. It's like there's this big block of just, and I'm hoping that once the Hulu situation goes, it will get a lot better. So I'm really hoping that will be the key thing to move Disney Plus into the next era, is going to be that merger with Hulu to get that general entertainment in, to start giving everyone in the US more choice, more options, more stuff to watch, because that's a key thing. They've proven to me that trying to make all their general entertainment content for Disney Plus that they've been doing, most of it wasn't very good, because all the good stuff was being made for Hulu. And they were getting all this generic stuff that were just wasting money on trying to recreate the wheel when they already had the wheel there. All the stuff they were making on Hulu was great. They had all the reality TV shows, the documentaries, the movies, and all the rest of it. And instead, they went off to try and make a slightly dumbed down version. So, and it will take a lot of the pressure off of like Star Wars and Marvel. I think when you've got shows like The Bear, Only Murders in the Building, and Futurama dropping weekly, it does make a difference that you're not necessarily just in it for one show. It's like tomorrow I've got Futurama to watch on Disney Plus. The day after is Only Murders. On Wednesday I've got Ahsoka. That's what you've got lots of different stuff to watch. I think that's going to be a key thing for adults to be watching. So I definitely think that's going to be something. Let's have a look here, see what we've got in the comments. That's just regarding this one. I'm just going to keep on this particular topic. Let's just see. I'm just checking to see if there's anything actually. A lot of these are right. I will be going back to these later on, so don't worry about it. I'm just seeing if there's anything particularly related to this question. Can't see any, but I'll be coming back to these live questions as we go along. I'll do 2-3 more questions, and then we'll jump back in. Elliot says, was there a reason why Disney Plus was adding so much Marvel and Star Wars content over Disney content? People were watching it. That's the key difference. People were watching Marvel and Star Wars content. The Disney stuff, the Disney branded shows, like let's say like the Mighty Ducks, Big Shot, anything that they put that Disney, Turner and Hooch. Let's be totally honest. Some of those shows were good. I really enjoyed Big Shot. I thought that was a really good show. But Doogie Kamealoha, Mighty Ducks, these kind of shows don't appeal to a big audience anymore. And I think the audience has shifted so much in what they're going to want. Younger kids or teenagers aren't going to sit through that drivel, that kind of, because it's vanilla. It's so bland. They need something more interesting. And all the interesting stuff for teenagers was going to Hulu and Freeform. And so Disney were left with these just generic shows, which I don't think work the same way anymore. I feel like Disney they've been churning out like vanilla carbon copy, just generic shows, and that's just not good enough anymore. I think the Disney Channel platform, there's some stuff there that works for younger audiences, but that is never going to become, because if you look at like all the other platforms like Comcast and HBO and all the rest of them, how many of them are making like shows that the family can all sit around together for? There's not that many, because they're very hard to make now, because audiences are so much more split. Babak says, what are some of the things other streaming services have that you wish Disney Plus would add? I think it'd be good to have some channels that are just like rolling like content. So if you had like a Marvel channel, a Star Wars channel, a Grey's Anatomy channel, so you can just put it on and you just kind of flick through the channels and see if there's something on. It's not how many people use it, I don't know, but it'd be just nice to start these like rotating channels. Better collections, better themed collections, more. That's the kind of thing I would like them to see a little bit more of. But the main one I would like is when you look at Netflix, when I go onto my Netflix account, the algorithm is so much more smarter than Disney Plus, and I think that's the key thing to showing us new stuff. Like when I go, like we actually flick sometimes between my wife's and my Netflix profiles, because sometimes we get completely different recommendations because of what I've been watching, what she watches. So, like you go onto mine, there's going to be a lot of, I think at the minute I've been watching like quarterback. So there's been loads of like American football stuff that's coming out, which my wife's account, they're not going to see any of that. So there's different kind of things. I think that's definitely what I would like. Let's jump into the live questions for a while. Let's see what we've gone. Right. I'm going to start at the top here. So Ryan says, why did Sony raise the price of PS Plus? They should get fired. Well, they want more money. Again, it's coming back to everything. I do think the price rise for PlayStation Plus was a bit too much. I'll be honest. I only just resubbed for a year back when they did it was like a 20-30% off about a month or two ago. So I've only recently done that for a whole year, and I'm on the premium band. And I'm very tempted that I might go down to either the middle or the bottom when it comes up for renewal, because while I might play like Destiny 2 and I might play some of the monthly games and just give them a go, and so it comes in, I'm not playing a huge amount on there that I didn't realize as much as I would do. Muppet Don says, what characters from the existing Marvel movies do you think will be pulled into Secret Wars, either in cameo or in full role? I think we're probably going to see probably a lot of the core characters, Spider-Man, Miss Marvel, probably Captain Marvel, maybe Captain America, the Sam Wilson version. I think everything pretty much, Moon Knight maybe. I think primarily the Phase 4 and Phase 4 and Phase 5 characters. Try saying that fast. Mapadon says, after Secret Wars, could you see Sony and Disney making a deal to have Marvel Studios co-produce all Spider-Man and related characters? I think Sony might. It depends how well these next batch of Marvel movies may. If Craven and Madam Web and Venom 3 do not do very well, Sony might be like, yeah, we're going to let you do it, and we just take a little bit of money from that. They might be better. Matt says, will we see some more cancellations of shows for the merger of Hulu? I think we probably will do. I think it's standard anyway. And cancellations of TV shows have been going on for decades. This is nothing new. It's just now that every time someone cancels something, the internet goes, oh, it's been happening for decades. It's been happening for decades that cancel TV shows. It's nothing new. If something doesn't do very well in the ratings, it's gone. It's just now that everyone hears about it. You would never know. There was a time when, before the internet, when a show would just get cancelled and it just was, you never saw it ever again. That was it. You never knew. Matt says Marvel Studios has officially unveiled its new edition of the roster of superheroes. Kalkori, a Native American character, is set to make an appearance in the upcoming second season of What If. Well, that's good. Introduce some new characters in What If. Tim says, do you think the coming soon section should be updated more internationally? It needs to be just updated fundamentally. They are notoriously bad at updating that coming soon section. They are really, they're just bad at doing it. I mean, to be honest, it's like the minute you put something out with a trailer, there should be a page for that. The minute you start promoting it or putting it out there, you should be putting a page up there. It should just be standardized practice. I can understand, especially if you're dating it. I mean, but to me, like once a trailer comes out, that's when you don't want to be putting it out too far in advance, because then that's, you don't want coming soon and it takes 4 years to get here. You don't want that. But if you're saying, especially if you're putting a date out there, like right now, like Quiz Lady is coming out in November, put a date on it. You've got other dates, just put them in there. Tim says, is Dancing with the Stars really coming to Disney Plus internationally? Well, looks like it. I'm just going to have a look here. It is very, very strange. It's like, because if you actually look at Dancing with the Stars on Google right now, I'm just going to bring this up. It does actually come up with a page for us internationally. I'm not convinced. I'm still not completely convinced. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. But yeah, I think there's a good chance. Kelly says, what Disney should do to increase subscribers is not only merge with Hulu, but also have live select channels of simulcast with ABC and FX. The trouble is, and this is the thing of that kind of thing of, why do you need a simulcast with cable, with streaming? I don't know. I understand it with like ABC News, like if they had, but if you're tuning in and you've got like Good Morning America in the morning, and then you've got the news and you've got something like that, I can understand watching live version of that. But do you need a live version of FX to go alongside it, or the Disney Channel, when in theory you can do it pretty much just? And also, then you've got into other rights with problems with the cable providers and the stuff. I just don't know if you need it. I mean, it was kind of fun. Disney Life here in the UK before did have live streams of it. I'm just not. I think having some kind of option for like fast channels or live news would be good. Let's see what else we got. Thank you for great interview. Just watch it. Yeah, I just put up an interview with Alex, and he's worked on a number of shows, movies under wraps. This will work perfect. It was supposed to be scheduled to go up at lunchtime, but for some reason it didn't go up on time. So yeah, do check that interview out. Always nice talking to people like that and kind of getting an insight into how things work a little bit. Matt says, do you think Disney Plus does enough new content for 2024? I think you will do. And I think especially in the US, I think there's going to be a little bit of an awakening when the two platforms merge and you actually start seeing a little bit more of what internationally we've been seeing. There is going to be less for sure. But when you start seeing all the stuff that's being added on Hulu and Disney Plus in one place, you're going to start seeing that actually Disney are putting out a lot of stuff. It was just that probably 90% of it was getting sucked up by Hulu rather than going to Disney Plus. So I think that's where you're going to. There is going to be a lot of stuff. I actually do think it's a good idea for Disney in some ways just to have like one core main show that they are focused on like at any given time. So at the moment we're focused on like Ahsoka as the main original series. I think that's good. You maybe can do a second series alongside it, but you don't want, with scheduling and stuff, you maybe don't want like too many coming all at once. Dennis says, don't really care about any of the questions, just it's a waiting game until they merge. Okay, well, I'm going to jump back into some of the pre-done questions. Let's see what we got. Okay, here's a good one from Caleb. Kelly says, how can Disney fix their PR problems that they've accumulated this year? I know Iger stepping down will not resolve the issues. So there's been a lot of stuff since Iger's come back of like, he has really had to deal with a lot of difficult situations. He has put his foot in it a number of times. He seems to have, he's come back and he's having to be Mr. Bad Guy. He's not, he's no longer Mr. I can fix everything, I can buy everything, I can fix it all, and aren't I wonderful? Now he's having to come back and fix a lot of the problems that Chapek introduced, some of which were introduced while Bob was still around. So yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that he needs to kind of get them out of. I think the biggest thing is creatively getting Disney's like creative monster machine back running again. Get off the easy streak, get off these live action remakes, get off the prequels, start introducing some originality. I know they've announced like Frozen and Toy Story, but if they're original movies, they can probably get away with that one. I think just they need to get the engine running again and get some good ideas going, maybe doing something a little bit different with that one. But also, I think in some ways, toning back a little bit, becoming a little bit more middle ground. I do think there is a situation right now where some stuff maybe has pushed a little bit too far, and now they've got to maybe just correct a little bit and kind of bring things back. I think that is something that they are going to need to do. Just because it's a global economy, and certain films are not working internationally as much as they are. So budgets have to be brought in line again. We've seen, they can't keep spending the money that they used to. So they've got to do that. There's a lot of stuff. And I think generally, there's the strikes right now. If you could get, between the strikes and the now the stuff with like Spectrum, it's just like one blunder after another that they're whacking into because they're trying to change the business around, and people don't like it. If the strikes weren't on right now, I think that would be a little bit different. But I do think he will be. I think it's just nightmare after night. In some ways, they just have to just try and maybe put the heads down a little bit and stop kind of annoying everybody. Daniel says, with streaming shows typically lasting 2 to 3 seasons, what's stopping Disney from writing off every show after its run? At what point can they not write off? I don't know specifically about how they can't write it off. The general rule of thumb is, by the time a show gets to 3 seasons, that should be a show that at that point that has proven to be successful. It should have had enough viewers to get the second season and enough viewers to get the third season. So that generally a show after like 3 seasons should be successful enough because it's had 3 seasons. If it did that poorly, it wouldn't have got picked up before. I think there was a few shows that got picked up in the pandemic and during the rush for streaming that probably wouldn't have been had it not been the boom for like just trying to get as much content out there as possible. So I do think we are going to see. I don't think they're going to 2 to 3 season ones probably will not be going as much. I don't know if they'll be doing as many write-offs as they. I think what they needed to do was just to get a load of it off the books at once. It'd be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see what happens. Muppet Don says, "Do you think the I Am Group will be the one Marvel show that just keeps going?" Yes. My review's going up on that on Tuesday. I did watch all 5 of them. Really good. This is a show that just can keep running and running. It is so good. I love it. Mamo says, "What deal do you think Disney and Spectrum will do once they resolve the dispute? And do you think they will include Disney streaming services?" Ooh. I don't think Disney are going to give them access to Disney Plus and Hulu and ESPN Plus. It's not in there. The whole thing right now with this issue between Spectrum and Disney is you have $2 billion companies arguing, and unfortunately it is the consumer that is missing out. People that have paid for access to these channels are not getting them. And if you're a Spectrum's customer and you haven't got access to these shows, get onto them, try and get a refund, try and cancel, move on to another platform that has what you want. Don't just keep paying for it, because that's not a good thing. There is a thing on both sides. I do think Charter is in a situation where cable business is degrading year on year on year on year, and the company and the studios are all pushing more to streaming. They're talking about bringing ESPN, direct to consumer. They're talking about selling linear channels. You've got to look at it from Charter's point of view. You're not looking at Disney right now and going, they're really committed to my business. They're really not that. And they're looking at their business, trying to save it as well. They need to save their own business. They need to keep them going. And they're looking at like streaming services as like, well, if we can bundle them all together and sell them to our customers, they'll keep paying us. And I can see it from Disney's point of view, where they're going, we don't need you. We can go around you. We don't need you now anymore. And I think we're definitely at an impasse. I don't think Disney should be giving Spectrum access to Disney Plus and Hulu and ESPN. It's like, that's a separate, and if you're doing a negotiation about linear channels and all the rest of it, it's like, at a certain point, I do think that Disney probably needed to cut the costs of what they're offering to linear customers, because instead of, they can't keep putting the price up and getting, they obviously from Disney's point of view, they're getting less money each year because there's less people on cutting the cord. So they're trying to keep their profits up by increasing the costs, and I don't think that's going to work. I think you're going to just push more and more people away, but maybe that's what Disney want. I don't know. The other problem is, and this is the issue with the cable services, if Disney do go along with this, you're then going to see the same problem then happen with Comcast, where their Spectrum's going to have requesting access to Peacock. And then Warner Brothers channels, they're going to want access to Max. And suddenly then you're paying to have full access to Max, Peacock, Disney Plus, Hulu, all the rest of it. And your cable bill is just going to keep going up and up and up. And you're getting bundled in. Now, I think Charter's got this idea of, we're going to make everything a la carte. And it's a little bit like, that's great, but Disney is supplying you with what they want, and you then sell it on to somebody else. The Charter Spectrum is the middleman, and it sounds like Spectrum are going, no, we want to be in charge of like what the customer's doing, because you're going around us and it's like, there's both on both sides. They're both messing about and doing it. I think there is going to be a point where Spectrum is either going to have to agree to Disney's terms, or they are just going to get rid of it. But that could set off a chain of issues for ESPN, but then that might end up speeding up the launch of their streaming platform and stuff. But very, very, very tricky. I know we've got a few more questions on that one. It's going to be interesting how this comes together. Basil says, do you think there still can be made a deal before the end of the year, as well as with SAG-AFTRA? Will the AMTP eventually give in to demands of the writers and actors? Right. I am hoping that after this weekend, with Labor Day over with, we're now into fall. They're going to want to rescue the winter season, because if they don't get it sorted soon, that's going to be a problem. I think the SAG, I wouldn't be at all surprised if, like, next week we're going to start seeing a lot more movement on SAG. I wouldn't be at all surprised if the studio's like, right, you know, to me, I'm a little bit like, you should be in there every day. This is you need to be in there every day having meetings. You know, yeah, okay, you need to be maybe like, we're going to take this thing away. We're going to think about it. We'll get back to it this date. But there should be a date set for the next meeting. There should be multiple meetings a week. You know, if they're meeting, they should be meeting both of them every week, multiple times a week. You know, I don't know. It just seems baffling how any of this can happen. I do think the unions are going to have to give a little. That's just a way of negotiation. There's nothing that's always happened. It's like with any negotiations, you ask for 20% off in the hope that you get 10%. You know, that's usually how you go high to come down a little bit. Also, I think the studios are going to have to go up a little bit more. But I do think if they can get the actors on board quicker, they might be able to get things going. But I do wonder if, like, this weekend is like right, we need to get stuff sorted now. So I think that's definitely it. All right, let's jump into some live questions. Let's see what we've got. Kyle says, I think they should stop cancelling shows so fast and allow them to get an audience. That is true. That is definitely a thing that they need to do. But you've also got to look at it the other way around of, you know, do you want to keep spending money on shows that aren't pulling an audience in, or do you put that money into something else that might do? Maybe I would say like with How I Met Your Father, they gave that one first season. They then gave it an extended second season. They gave it twice as many episodes. So they have given it, I mean, it's kind of ironic, it'd be 30 episodes, which in the old days would have only been like one season. I do think they have to let things give a little bit of chance. My personal opinion is, like with How I Met Your Father, is if you are going to be like, right, we're canceling this show, go, right, we're going to give you 10 more episodes, wrap the story up, end it. You know, end the story. If you're going to do end the show, or, you know, that would be the main thing. Like Willow is a prime example of a show that they should never have teased the 2 more seasons when they ended it. But if you weren't sure, you shouldn't be doing that. But that's one way. Let's see what we've got. Lester says more unique content that keeps your attention, like Hulu. That's the difference. You want different content. You enjoy different things. You know, it's like this afternoon, I watched the finale of Special Ops Lioness on Paramount Plus, and then we watched a documentary about Japan, and then we watched a movie. You know, we watch different things. Kelly said, missing out on last week due to watching All In. I'm back this week. Hello, good to see you back. Kyle says, now that the Marvel series has moved, should we expect the movies to move again? I don't think Marvel's is going to move. I think that's good now. I think with June 2 moving, I think that's opened up the premium screens. With the moving Echo out the way, that will give Marvel's a little bit more room to grow, to give. And I think they're going to need to have a good big movie out for like Christmas and Thanksgiving and all the rest of it. So I think Marvel's is good in where it is. I think Deadpool 3 is at risk because simply of the fact that if they don't get started filming soon, that's going to be a problem. They're not going to have it filmed. But there is a counter argument of, is a enforced slowdown of Marvel a good thing for us? Let's do that as a question. Actually, we'll end that poll. So we're at 44% of the merge with Hulu. All right, so here we go. So we're going to start a poll. Do you think a Marvel slowdown is good? Yes or no? Simple questions. Because I actually think that this enforced slowdown might be good for Marvel. I think this might be exactly what Marvel needs right now. Just let it ease off a little bit. Kelly says, what are your thoughts on WWE Payback? Thought it was pretty solid. I knew it would fly under the radar due to the I saw that CM Punk thing this morning. I'm not surprised. I have watched half of Payback. I'm going to watch the other half later tonight. That's the thing with it being on UK time. It airs at like 1 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock. I'm too old to stay up for it now, so I'll watch it in bits. Kelly says, but what's funny is when Vince McMahon resigned, the WWE's PR problems were mostly resolved and the business is booming. I know we spoke, if Iger resigned, it won't. The trouble is with Iger going right now is then you're going to have somebody new in, and again, expectations for him to go fixed. This stuff is going to take a long time to go around, and I don't think people gave Iger I think once, like I would say, Evil Iger came out, he started losing people's faith a little bit more. Tim says, why is Ahsoka episode 4 dropping at the same day with Little Mermaid and I Am Groot season 2? So episode 4 in Australia will still be dropping on the Wednesday, but Ahsoka will be 6 hours before everywhere else. It's just with time zones and stuff. Ricardo says, is there a chance that Disney Plus change the order of Futurama episodes in production order instead of maybe? I didn't realize they are out of order. I also want to add that if Disney is playing it safe next year, so I hope it doesn't mean the marginalized communities get thrown under the bus and they appeal bigger. Yeah, I mean, there's a line. There's a line that they've got to cross, and they've got to maybe just kind of come in a little bit. It is very tricky. And I do think as well, Disney are trying to sell their content to the world. You're trying to sell content to people in Latin America. You're trying to sell content to people in Africa, the Middle East, India, Asia, Europe, everywhere. So they have to offer as much variety as they possibly can. But at the same time, sometimes if it's not necessary, do they need to do it? There's like a line between where they have to do it. Like personally right now, I would say like maybe Snow White is a film along the lines of, is that going to cause us more PR problems than if we release it? That would be my instinct right now with Snow White. I'm just going to look, this just doesn't look like this is going to work. We're literally just throwing, is this really going to make the money? Because I don't know. It's very tricky. Right. Get back into some of the pre-done questions. Let's see where we go. Mapadon says, how long do you think it will be before Marvel Studios announces new projects? 1 to 2 years, maybe at next year's San Diego Comic-Con or D20. But I'm hoping there's a D23 Expo next year. I'm hoping that'll get announced next week. Maybe then. But I also think Marvel have to be very, very careful of announcing stuff way too far in advance, which is what's got them into this problem in the first place. Because technically, Wonder Man has still never actually been officially announced. Mahmoud says, Disney is currently getting revenue from both Disney Plus and Hulu. What do you think is going to happen to the revenue once they merge the services? So I think they're obviously going to lose some subscriptions with them coming together, but I think most of them are under the bundle anyway, so that will help. The big key thing here is watch time for advertising, because about 90% of Hulu subscribers are on the ad-supported tier, much lower on Disney Plus. So they can get you over to it, watching more television. They're making the money off the advertising. There is going to be a drop in subscribers because of the mix between the two of how they're counted, and this is the other key thing, while that will drop a little bit, advertising on Disney Plus will go up a little bit more because it'll be crossed over. But more importantly, costs can be reduced. They are going to be able to reduce their costs on advertising. They're going to be able to have less staff. They can have less originals. They can have less servers, less development. There's going to be a whole host of things that they can save money on just as much. So that's very interesting. Muppet Don says, when do you think What If season 2? Probably, it sounds like Christmas time. Maybe the middle of this. I'm hoping it's going to be weekly, and so that might be cool to have that weekly, maybe December, January. And it says, when the one-up experience comes, could we see some more removals, or will it say the same as it is now? I think we're going to see some removals from Hulu in general. I think we're going to see, I think obviously you're going to start seeing things like the Max and the Stars add-ons, all that content, which technically shows up within Hulu. That's not going to be on the Disney Plus version. Now, we don't know how long those are going to be running. Showtime is supposed to be coming to an end soon anytime, because that's merged with Paramount. Stars, we don't know what's going on with Stars. So the add-ons, do you take away that content, that'll be there. I fully expect when they get rid of Comcast, I wouldn't be at all surprised if all Comcast's content goes with them, or goes at the end of the year or something, because I think that'll be how that's going to go. But I think we are going to see some licensed stuff disappear. Balbec says, now that How You Met Your Father is cancelled, will we see it on Disney Plus in the near future? I suspect in the US, you will see it on Disney Plus when they do the merger. Mamo says, how do you think Disney will balance cost cutting and price increases and satisfying consumers? Because as of right now, they're only focused on cost cutting and price increases and not giving any thought of what consumers feel about what Disney is currently doing. Yes, I feel like we're in a bit of a lull before the Hulu merger, where they can then, that's going to be like the next wave for Disney Plus, so they can then start pushing the stuff out there. And I think that's going to be the key thing. We're just in a waiting zone now to find out what happens when all this comes in. Right, let's jump back into the live chats. Here we go. Chris says, do you think it's worth doing all the savings costs if it means next to nothing exciting is coming to Disney Plus and they're losing subs because of it? But the thing is you're looking again, it depends on where you are. If you're in the US, you're looking at Disney Plus and going, well, there's only a few Marvel and Star Wars shows that I'm watching and they're getting rid of them. So why am I keeping it? Whereas if you start looking at it going, well, there's all these other shows that are coming that I could be watching, FX Shogun, you're going to be getting, I'm just trying to think of some of the ones off the top, Percy Jackson. You go, there's a load of other shows that are going to coming, and I think when you see what's coming in from that, more stuff coming from the other networks, I think there's going to be enough content there. It's just going to be very different to the concept of Disney Channel originals. I mean, like I said, if I just show you here now, like this is like Disney Plus here in the UK right now. You know, when you've got these other shows in here, it really does make a big difference of how much you're watching here on Disney Plus. You know, it does make a big difference, definitely, with how much time you're spending in here. So Suna says, when do you think the estimated release date will be when they merge? I really don't know about a date. I would just be pulling one out there. It doesn't. I would like maybe December the 1st, but yeah, who knows? I mean, I would imagine they were gonna have to start getting advertisements and stuff for it soon. Ricardo says, I think Bob Iger should just say CEO position until 2021, as his contract said, instead of putting Chapek in charge. Maybe there could be some missteps of COVID, but things would. I disagree on that. I disagree on a couple of things. First off, Wall Street in 2020 was pushing for subscribers, and that's what Disney were doing. They were doing what Wall Street wanted them to do to increase their share price. Pandemic would have caused a problem of a vast increase in subscribers, and now we're seeing the drop off. I mean, it's common sense, isn't it? It's a bit like, I think, like there was a problem like with the Pentalon, the bikes. You know, they saw a massive boost of people wanting them in the pandemic, and same thing like with Zoom and all the rest of it. Of course, once everyone's like gone back, it all started to drop off. And then we've had, you know, obviously the war over here in Europe, and that's obviously put prices and stuff up. So yeah, it can be interesting. Muppet Don says there will always be an assumption that anything with the Disney brand is more oriented to kids and young kids, even if all of it isn't. I think that's definitely a key thing. I think more so in the US of that Disney brand of just being for kids. And I think they're going to have to do a big advertising campaign to get people ready for the Hulu side. Ryan says more theatrical movies, more days, like 180 days. I don't think we're going to go back to 180 days because the consumer is not going to put up with that anymore, I'm afraid. The idea that a movie is going to be in theaters for 180 days and more people are just going to go to the cinema, it ain't going to work. It ain't going to fly. People ain't going to do that now. People's choices have changed. People's way how they watch has changed. People don't like going to the cinema the same. It costs too much to go to the cinema. You don't need to go to the cinema and watch a middle-of-the-range indie movie when you've got a big flat-screen TV with sound systems at home. Or when you've got kids and you can watch, you know, the Super Mario Brothers movie at home with your kids and you can feed them and all the rest of it. Consumer habits have changed. We're never going to be able to go back to the days of the way people used to go to cinemas like years and years and decades. And the further you go back, the more people, the cinema's been doing this for ages. And, you know, the big event movies will bring people in. But, you know, it's like if you watched, you know, I don't know, say like Poor Things, or, you know, that's a new movie coming up in December. Do you need to see that in cinemas, or can you watch it on Disney Plus? The new Haunting in Venice. I can watch that at home. It doesn't need to be watched in cinemas. And I think consumers have changed habits, and I'm trying to make them go back to 180 days. Also, essentially now people are not buying DVDs. You've got to see now that essentially Disney Plus is the new DVD. The premium video demand and stuff is like, obviously that's a different zone and kind of fits into it. But Disney Plus is now your basic DVD release of how people will watch it. And you got to remember, when they start getting the ads on that, that's when they're going to start making some money. By trolling, I think the subscription loss due to people being more busy and outside stuff. Yeah, I do think that's a key thing. People being able to get out, people being there, back to reality. I mean, but also, and I feel this one gets vastly underestimated, it's just the cost of living crisis. It's costing more. Fuel costs more, energy costs more, rent costs more, mortgages cost more, food's costing more, going to the theme parks costs more, running your cars costing, everything's costing more. Streaming services are going up, your PlayStation Plus is going up, your Spotify is going up, everything's going up, but wages are not going up, so people have got less money. And people are looking now like, do I need this many subscription services? It's like today, I finished off the Lioness, and I'm like, I can cancel my Paramount Plus next month because I was signed into like an 18-month deal. I'm putting in I'll be canceling that next month because I watch like 1 or 2 shows a month sometimes. From now on, if there's something I want to watch, I will just subscribe as and when. Kelly says, you're right about algorithms. I know my parents watch Nat Geo scenery documentaries, and Disney Plus recommends documentaries through animals. Yeah, it's a little bit of stuff, but it's very much like, you watch National Geographic, here's some more National Geographic. You ever notice how like whatever's like trending in the US or on like Disney Plus, whatever comes up at the end of that show boosts up because people just move straight into it? Tim says, what did you think of the live action series One Piece? I've seen the first 4 episodes. So I watched the first episode on Friday. I thought it was quite fun. I definitely want to watch more of it. My wife wasn't so keen on it. Definitely for me, I'm gonna give it. It seemed fun. It's nice to watch something. I don't really know One Piece. I've not got any knowledge of the franchise or from the books and stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a go. I forgot to hit mute. Right. Okay. Matt says, what Marvel character do you want to see a movie or TV show? X-Men, Fantastic Four. Maybe the ones they've announced. Blade might be fun. Muppet Don, they seem to be saving the coming soon mainly for stuff that they know will do well. I mean, but it is bad. It is pretty bad. Do you think Warner Brothers Discovery will sell off HGTV and the Food Network? I don't think so, because it's cheap, easy telly. It's a lot easier to make shows for those networks than for like Succession or something like that. Billy says, do you think Disney is adding theatrical films too soon? No, I don't. I think between 90 and 120 days is probably the sweet spot. You want to have that digital thing. Let's be honest, though. Most of the times, we're very much now an event-driven. A movie comes out, and if you do not go see it in the first couple of weeks, you're just going to wait. And that's most movies make their money in those first few weeks. There's very few that have long legs that go on for ages and ages. And if you look at this year's movies, if you take out like Super Mario Brothers and the Oppenheimer and the Barbie, look at the other ones, because sometimes as well you look at something like Barbie and go, oh yeah, it's had a really good run. Like an Oppenheimer, yes, they have. They've done fantastic. But don't just go by the biggest. When there's like 1 or 2 big successes, you can't look at that and go, that's what everything should do, because that's not reality. Look at what's going on underneath it. I think Disney is right going back to 90 days. I think maybe going to 90 days, then go into digital, and then 30 days go into Disney Plus is probably better. Might be how I would personally do it a little bit. Because I think like Little Mermaid coming on like this week is like, it's good. And it will definitely drum up some more things, but it does again. I think the idea of forcing people to go cinema is not going to work in nowadays. Muppet Don says, I think the news morning light shows live on TV are the best. The rest of the content they just need to upload those shows quicker onto Disney Plus. I think this is where the live TV stuff starts going into funny things of like Good Morning America. And then you've got all those quiz shows and The View and all the stuff of it that you have during the day, which most of which isn't even made by Disney. They just buy it in. And then you've got like the late night shows like Jimmy Kimmel and stuff of like, are they going to work? Do they work in a streaming world? Do those shows work the same? Because personally, I just watch all the clips of all the main bits, all the funny bits and the monologues on YouTube. I don't watch the whole show because there's just no point. And let's be honest, most of those interviews are not fun. Tim says, will they remove How I Met Your Father this week? Maybe. I don't think they will do. I think they're probably doing that one for a while. Muppet Don says, will Chris Evans be voicing Buzz in Toy Story 5? He was only there for Lightyear. No, they'll be having Tim Allen back. They won't be making that mistake again. Ryan says, I think they should put Disney Plus originals into cinemas to make more money. It's not going to work. People are not going to go watch Ahsoka or the Marvel series in cinemas. And I feel like, audiences have changed. And I do feel like movies like something like Flaming Hot, you could have put that in cinemas maybe for 60 days and then brought it out, and it would have done good, and it would have got the money back. Peter Pan and Wendy would have just been, because it wasn't good enough. And I think Disney have got to stop making mediocre movies. And yeah, it's very tricky. I think Searchlight and 20th Century, they don't need to go straight to streaming. Like Quiz Lady could go to cinemas for a bit, but I don't think you can put people are not going to go watch series at cinemas. People that just wouldn't happen. Matt says, I can't wait to add some more hops like ABC. Ryan says, maybe put like $80 million movies into cinemas. I think if they're spending $80 million on movies, but I think they need to bring those budgets down. And as Muppet Don says, I think they need to make less streaming movies. I think that's definitely a key thing. I think like Searchlight and 20th Century are making some great films that can just be, and National Geographic documentaries as well. You can put them out in cinemas. They come to Disney Plus, and they're more valuable if they can cover the costs and stuff. I think that's good. I think that's just good in general, just for them to do that. Ryan's going for a walk. Have a good one. Kevin said, as cord cutting 2.0 is here, and since Charter and Comcast are set to lose customers to Verizon and T-Mobile, since home T5 is a favorable variable competition. I always find this quite interesting because we've had 5G here in the UK for, you can't get it everywhere. It's a little bit iffy. My dad is constantly asking if he can have the internet without having to pay line rental. But then I'd be like, well, you have to pay, more mobile phone plan, at which point he only does pay as you go, so it wouldn't really work. I think we are going to start, the cable companies, people are still going to want to have access, I think, to internet. I have a fiber connection. I wouldn't be on 5G. I wouldn't use it. I need the internet to be more stable. I think 5G might be fine for mobile networks and stuff. People might be able to move on to it in a certain way, but I think cable networks are always going to be that thing until maybe we get a 6G or 7G. I think we need to get a little bit better in terms of technology on that. Ricardo says, I don't think How I Met Your Father could be considered a tax write-off, but most people are feeling bad for cancellation because the show was no conclusion. I think that's the key thing. We don't know who the father is. They should have gone, we're going to renewing it for a third and final season. 10 episodes, end it. Rather than the way they did it. How I Met Your Father? No idea. That's just never going to end. Muppet Don says, I think they will increase quality, but it's hard to readjust with not having a new episode or film every week. Well, we are getting new stuff every week, but we're just not getting as many as you were. And I think, again, the big difference, internationally to the US, like, here, like new on Disney Plus, like when you start seeing things like, getting Ahsoka this week, we've had Only Murders. Last week we had Vacation Friends. We've had a new Korean show. We've had a new French movie. We had a new documentary from Nat Geo 2 weeks ago. New episodes of Minds MC dropped this week. I don't know why some of them seem really old. I don't know why Kizimoto's still in there, because that was from like July. New episodes of 911 have been dropping weekly. The First Responders, 2 episodes a week of that dropping weekly. These are dropping new ones all the time. Futurama's every week. Bleach. There wasn't an episode this week, but there's generally no new episodes all the time. So there's lots of stuff coming in. Is Geographic rename a marketing ploy? Could be. Babatronic says, do you think Warner Brothers merger if Discovery Plus and HBO Max was a mistake? I don't think it was a mistake at all. They needed to. People need consolidation. You can't have all these different streaming services. I think ABC Plus will be one of the ones to go. I think Stars is going to be. I think we're going to see in 2024, we're going to see a lot of the smaller ones disappearing away. Papa Don says, opinions on Clarkson, Hammond, and May. You either love them or hate them. I'm in the love them camp. I always liked them on Top Gear. I thought they were really good on Top Gear. I watched the Grand Tour when they dropped new episodes of that one. That's literally the only major Amazon show I like, and the only reason I get on it. And I really like Clarkson's Farm. So I'm in the like them camp. Kyle says, should we expect a studio presentation, aka Destination D23? There is going to be one next Sunday. Don't get your hopes up. It's not going to be live streamed. There might be the odd trailer or teaser drop or the odd little bit of news, maybe a date or something, but don't expect announcements. This is not it. This is not the time that they're going to do anything. Mappa John says, do you think they could do a cross-platform DCU could work with games, animation, live action, or as not everyone will watch or play these, so they can't have major things happen in games or animation? Personally, with video games, the better the video games are when they are disconnected from movies and anything. Video games take so long to make, and every video tie-in game usually is a load of rubbish. And, we got Spider-Man 2 coming out. Was it Spider-Man? Yeah. Well, the new Spider-Man game coming out next month, gonna be amazing because they're not having to be shoehorned into doing everything around the movies. I'm looking forward to the X-Men game, like the Wolverine game. I thought the Avengers game, the actual main campaign, was really good. I do like the DC games. I actually didn't think Gotham Knights was too bad. I thought that was a bit of fun. It wasn't as good as the Arkham ones, but I think separating them from the movies is best. And I'll be honest, animation, there's a big core of the audience that will not watch it. There's just a big audience that just will not pay attention to animation. Tim says, could we see an official trailer for Percy Jackson? If we're going to see one, this next Sunday is probably next Sunday. Like, you could get that and maybe a teaser of Santa Clauses. That might be in there. Kyle says, does Disney's Sony second window deal apply internationally? No. Mapadon says, personally, the cinema is something to do with friends, maybe 1 or 2 times a year. If I want to watch a film, it's always wait till it comes to streaming and watch TV at home. I bought a month of Paramount Plus and all I watched was School of Rock, nothing else. Katie said, we have to be mindful that not all releases are equal. I know Pathan recently released in Japan, even though it's intent released in India and the US. It was pretty cool of how it was praised. Matt says, what shows do you want to see Walt Disney Studios make? I think the problem is, for me, is I actually feel like Walt Disney Studios are probably best just to not bother with doing TV. I think they should continue to focus on movies. Let the Disney branded television do the kids shows. Let the TV networks do the TV stuff. They know what they're doing. They know how to do it. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Barbara Joe said, what Disney should be doing with old 20th century content pre-70s. They should be adding it on there, but also maybe putting it onto like digital platforms to buy. And maybe even if they need to offset the cost for like restoration and stuff, maybe like license it out non-exclusive to like Tubi or something like that. Matt says, what are your thoughts on Spectrum losing channels that are Disney owned? And this was a second question on that one. Was kind of says, what are the main reasons behind the Disney Spectrum fallout, i.e. the cable packages where premium sports are sold individually like in the UK? So I think the big key thing here with this problem is you've got two companies trying to get themselves ready for the future, and the cable system is falling to pieces. The American system with cable, let's be honest, it was a dream for Disney and for the cable companies. It's like, oh, you want to watch sports? Well, you have to pay for the sports. Everyone has to pay for it. See, here in the UK, if you had Sky or if you had satellite or cable, if you wanted Sky Sports or BT Sports or whatever it is, you had to pay extra for them. You didn't. If you wanted to watch the movie channels, they had like the movie channel package, and then you had like your entertainment package, and they didn't bundle them all into one and charge you 40 quid a month because it just, I don't think the governments would allow it here. But in the US, when I look at the price of like Hulu Live TV or something like that, and you're like, why on earth would anyone want to pay that? And that's cheaper than cable. So I can see why the cable companies are looking at going, right, we need to make some changes because we're losing customers fast, really fast. But the simple thing is I do feel like Carter kind of saying to Disney, go, well, this is our new plan and we want you to come on board with it. It's like, that's great. That's great for you. You know, you've come up with a plan of how to save your business, and then you're expecting the other companies to go, yeah, okay, we'll do that. And like, oh, you know, and like they're doing them a favor. It's like, and ultimately, the whole point of streaming is to cut out the cable people. You don't need them. That's the whole point. You don't need to do it. And I think Carter is, to me, it feels more like we're trying to change, we're trying to survive, and we're trying to change how we do stuff to keep our customers going because we keep losing them, and then blaming Disney for not giving them free access to Disney Plus and Hulu. And there is the counter argument that if you are a Spectrum customer and you do not want to have access to Hulu, you're going to be paying for it anyway. So I don't know. It seems really weird. It seems really weird. Tim says, why was What If Season 2 delayed to this year? Everything's been delayed, really. Let's see what I say. Go. Do you think ESPN can survive on its own without a cable company? I think ESPN is going to be able to survive in some form or another because it has an established brand. It depends on how it's going to work, either as a streaming service, which has got all the different streaming things in there that you want to watch, or it can carry on maybe as offering of like reporting on the sports news, doing documentaries. In one form or the other, the ESPN brand will live on for a while. The big question is, and I think this is a big thing that is not just about ESPN, but I think as sports as a whole, is the sports teams and the sports systems are all built around the cable system in the US paying for everything. Everyone was paying regardless of if you watched it or not. And the teams and everyone else was just putting their prices up more and more and more because they could. And now we're reaching a point where the cost of all this stuff is going down. And it becomes a problem. Now, here in the UK, we have lots of different options. You have Sky Sports, you have TNT Sports, and you also have Daz Sports. So if I want to watch the new season of the NFL, I have to get NFL Game Pass on Diaz. It's about £38 for a month for 4 months. So if I just want to watch the NFL for 4 months, that's what it's going to cost me. Or I could take out Sky Sports, and they have less options there. The simple thing is sports rights are expensive, and I personally don't think. I think we're going to see a big change. Sporting events, sporting TV rights and stuff are going to have to adapt and change. And I think that's definitely something that's going to have to move on with that one. Right. Okay. So that's all our pre-done questions. So now we're going to be live. We've just hit 8 o'clock. So we'll go for about another 10 minutes because my voice is starting to go. So Cena says, will we see a season 3 of the Wonder Years reboot in 2024? I think it's gone. I think it's gonna get cancelled. It doesn't sound like it's had great results. I just don't know if it's. I think that one's gonna get cancelled. Carlos says maybe Lizzie McGuire can be put into development now that it's been. I think everyone just needs to put Lizzie McGuire. It's done. It ain't coming back. What older fans of Lizzie McGuire want isn't what Disney have in mind for their core brand. They don't want a 30-year-old woman being she is a Disney Channel character. She is not Sex and the City. And I think what people want from Lizzie McGuire just doesn't make sense. And then if they do bring out, and then like Lizzie McGuire, then if it's like a Raven's Home where it's like on the Disney Channel network, it's not going to be what adults want from it. I think it's better off just letting it go. Matt says, when will we see Doctor Who on Disney Plus? So the new specials are dropping in November. Mapadon says it's been so annoying seeing news channels saying we're expecting this to be announced at D23, and it's like no, it's not. There is a lot of clickbait and engagement baiting right now on YouTube, and especially on X and Facebook, because a lot of this is trying to get more money. And they're having to be more and more aggressive with this stuff because ad rates are lower, so they're making less. Also, this whole thing with X paying people basically means the more you poke and prod your Twitter audience to respond to it is going to make you more money. And also as well is just misunderstanding of what Destination D23 is and expectations, and also just being able to you can flat out lie on these social medias and nothing ever happens. Yes, some audiences start plugging on to the fact of this is, but I mean, you look on there and you'll see all these like people are like making trailers for like season, like Daredevil Born Again, and it's just like literally just clips of the old seasons put together, and you're like, but it's worked. It got you to click on it, or there is just so much. But there's a lot of, every time I mention with Destination D23, it's just like, it's Destination D23. It is not the D23 Expo. And the trouble is, the D23, like, they think it's the same. There wasn't actually a lot announced at last year's D23 in general. Kelly says, I wouldn't mind if Disney did a licensing deal with Prime Video of sharing some of the films. That's not very recent. I think sharing content makes a lot of sense, especially if you're spending money restoring it and it's not going to be a high volume film. If you're taking a film from 1946, who's really going to watch it? There's going to be an audience that will watch it, but maybe if you can put it on the Prime and Tubi as well as on Disney Plus, and so that the cost of them leasing it out covers the cost of the restoration, and then Disney Plus get it, or maybe even Hulu or like maybe like Tubi get it for like a year, and then when it finishes on there, then Disney Plus. I'm hoping with the new Hulu version with Disney Plus, we start seeing a little bit more stuff coming in. Kelly, so remember WWE launched in the WWE Network, DirecTV and Dish Network ceased televising WWE for 4 years because they were upset with them broken a gentleman agreement. That is the key thing, is the industry's changed. I mean, I think back now to like the days of paying like £15-20 a month for the WWE premium events or pay-per-views. I finally got used to saying premium live events because you don't have to pay for them. I do. I pay £10 a month. That's the way I look at it. I look at WWE Network as like it's half the price of a thing. But like last week was like all in was like 17 quid. No, I'm not paying that. But yeah, it's definitely difficult. Matt says, is there more Gordon Ramsay shows on Disney Plus? The thing is with Gordon Ramsay, he does tend to make different shows for different networks to what he's being paid. So like in the US, he does like Kitchen Nightmares and Hell's Kitchen, I think, for Fox. Here in the UK, like tonight, there's a series with him, Gino and Fred going around in a camper van in Spain. So I can't wait to watch that tomorrow night because I really enjoyed the previous ones. He also he's done a couple of new shows on BBC. He tends to move around a little bit depending on what he's doing. Tim says NFL Game Pass costs $280 on Daz. What's that? 280 Oz to UK. So what is that? It's that's some weird, right? So 280 Australian dollars is equivalent to £143. I think when I had a look, I think that's probably looks to be about the same price for Game Pass, because NFL Game Pass is 37. Yeah. Oh, it's 150 pound altogether. So it's about the same price for that. So it's a bit expensive. I'm going to be trying to see stuff. Tim says, with the ad tier coming to Disney Plus in Australia the week after the UK, what will the prices be? They haven't officially announced anything on the Australian one. I know you sent me that message from the help, but officially I couldn't find any information on them doing this ad tier. So we haven't got a price or anything like that. So hopefully we get a price on that pretty soon. Tim says WWE Network is on Foxtel and we get all the pay-per-views. Yeah, that's again, in every country has these different systems. And Kelly says, I do feel once ESPN goes DTC, some cable companies will drop them since they feel Disney broke the gentleman. I think you're actually starting to see them, like with Spectrum now, they're already starting to get ready for this jump. It might actually force Disney to pull the plug or pull the thing quicker on going direct to consumer. In some ways, you think like ESPN Plus is ready for it, but I think they've got that problem of it being like $9.99, and I think with the sports price, it's probably going to need to be like $20 or $30. They can't get away with that price that they're doing, but yeah, I think they're definitely getting there. Right. On that note, I think we've reached the end of the questions. So a big thank you to everyone for joining in live. Thank you so much for your continued support. I'll be back next week with another live Q&A. There'll also be a little bit of a recap of if there is anything from D23. But yeah, so should be interesting. Hope you all have a good Labor Day Monday if you're in the US. Here in the UK, we had our bank holiday Monday last week. So it's just a Monday tomorrow. And if your kids are going back to school this week, I'm sure you're going to be more than happy with them out the way. But on that note, guys, thank you very much. And I shall see you guys soon. Laters.